Imagine coming to work and discovering that your computer are locked. Patients' records are inaccessible. Employee cannot work. Critical services are disturbed. This is not a hypothetical scenario. In May 2017, the WannaCry ransomware attack affected organizations around the world, including healthcare organizations in the UK. But here is the important CISSP questions. Was WannaCry simply a malware problem, or was it also a risk management failure? Let us find out. On May 12, 2017, WannaCry began spreading rapidly. Unlike traditional ransomware that often depend on a user opening a malicious attachment, WannaCry had a worm-like spreading capability. It exploited vulnerability in the Microsoft's SMB1 protocols. Microsoft had already released security update MS17-010 in March 2017 to address the vulnerability involved, but many systems remain unpatched or running unsupported version of Windows. Once vulnerable systems are infected, WannaCry could spread across networks, turning one compromised system into a pathway to many others. The impact wasn't limited to individual computers. The UK National Audit Office found that WannaCry attack disturbed at least 34% of NHS trust in England. At least 81 out of 236 trusts were affected, along with hundreds of other NHS organizations and GP practices. The consequences include disruption of healthcare services and significant operational efforts to restore systems. And this is where cybersecurity becomes a business problem. The question is no longer simply was system vulnerable? The question becomes what risk did the vulnerability create for the organizations? Let's make an important distinction. A vulnerability is a weakness. A threat is something that can exploit that weakness. Risk is the potential for that threat to exploit the vulnerability and cause harm to the organizations. In the WannaCry case, vulnerability was associated with the SMB. The threat was ransomware capable of exploiting that weakness. But organization risk came from combination of vulnerability, exposure, likelihood, and business impact. So what exactly is risk management? At a high level, risk management is the process of identifying, accessing, responding to, and continuously monitoring risk. Let us apply to WannaCry. First, identify the risk. Do we have system running outdated or unsupported software? Do we have SMB exposed unnecessarily? Do we have legacy system that cannot be patched? Second, assess the risk. How likely is exploitations? And if exploitation occur, what would be business impact? A vulnerability on an isolated test machine is very different from the same vulnerability on a system supporting critical healthcare services. Once a risk is understood, the organization has to decide what to do about it. This is risk treatment. One option is risk mitigations. For WannaCry, that could include applying appropriate security updates, reducing unnecessary SMB exposure, segmenting network, and removing unsupported system where possible. Another option is risk avoidance. For example, eliminating an unnecessary legacy services or systems, Sometimes a risk may be transferred, such as through contractual or insurance arrangements, and in some situations, an organization may decide to accept a risk, but that decision should be deliberate and based on organization's risk appetite. Here is the important CISSP perspective. Risk management is not about eliminating every vulnerability. This is not realistic. The objective is to understand the risk and bring it within an acceptable level for the organization. Imagine you have a legacy medical device that cannot easily be upgraded. Simply saying patch it may not be practical. So the organization may need compensating control such as network isolation, segmentation, restricted access, monitoring, and a plan to eventually replace the system. This is risk-based thinking. So what can we learn from WannaCry? Lesson 1. Know your assets. You cannot manage risk of systems you don't know exist. Lesson 2. Know your vulnerabilities. Vulnerability management isn't just running a scanner. It is about understanding which vulnerability matter to the business. Lesson 3. Don't ignore legacy system. Unsupported system can become major risk multipliers. Lesson 4. Use defense in depth. Patching is important, but segmentation, access control, monitoring, backup, and incident response provide additional layer of protections. And finally, cybersecurity risk is business risk. CISSP exam tips. When you see a scenario involving a vulnerability, don't immediately jump to a technical solutions. Think like a security manager. Ask what is the assets, what is the threat, what is the vulnerability, what is the likelihood and impacts, and finally, what is the appropriate risk response. Here, your CISSP practice questions. An organization discovers that several critical medical devices are running an unsupported operating system. The device cannot be immediately upgraded because of operational constraint. What should the security manager do first? A. Immediately shut down all devices. B. Accept the risk because devices are critical. C. Assess the risk and implement appropriate compensating controls. D. Purchase cyber insurance. Pause the video and choose your answer. The correct answer is C. The security manager should assess the risk and determine appropriate treatment. If immediate patching isn't possible, compensating control may reduce the risk while a longer term solution is developed. WannaCry teaches us an important CISSP lessons. A vulnerability becomes a serious business risk when it is exposed, exploitable, and capable of causing significant impact. Effective risk management means identifying that risk, assessing it, choosing the appropriate response, and continuously monitoring it. Cybersecurity isn't just about preventing attack, it is about managing risk to the business. I am Rajesh Kumar and this is CISSP in 10 minutes. Which real world cyber attack should we analyze next? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching. Have you enjoyed this lesson? Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.